Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 96. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay, what were you up to this weekend, man? You sent me a couple of cryptic text messages on Sunday during my lazy day, and I was not in the mood to answer because I wanted to ask you now.
Oh, I don't know if I want to elaborate too much on that, but
No, cryptic is fine.
yes, cryptic is definitely something I need to start doing a little bit better of.
So what'd you get down to this weekend?
Well, I had a busy week. I wasn't able to go out to the theaters. I wanted to see Tully.
I didn't ask what you were watching, Jay.
I'm just saying I'm getting there.
I want to know what you were into. What did you get into?
I got into some golf game on a beautiful Friday. My cousin had a graduation party on Saturday. That was fun. And I got a random phone call, Dave, from an old friend, you could say, and she was in town. She lives in Boston currently, and was in town for her friend's 30th birthday. So it's a Gatsby theme party, and I'm okay dressed, but I'm definitely not dapper dressed like they are. And it's like the 5-4 bar. Do you know the 5-4 bar?
Yeah, you've talked about it before.
I've never been there before. I think maybe once, but it's just an average bar. And there was a crappy band playing, and I was a little bit gooned up. She was a little gooned up. And
what is gooned up? Never heard this expression before.
just drunk.
Okay, yeah, I get that, but I mean, like, where did you
But
get
like
this
happy
expression
and
of
handsy.
gooned up?
Gooned up? I don't know. I've heard that for a while.
Were you hanging?
That's such like a frat boy kind of sound.
Yeah, this comes from those 20-year-olds you've been hanging out with. But anyway, so you guys get gooned up, which to me means you're a hockey player who beats the shit out of people, but to you it means you're fucked up drunk.
I really don't know what else I want to say. I mean, this story can get really interesting, and I don't know if I really want to say it. All right, I'm gonna say it.
You don't have to, man. No one wants to make you do anything.
I feel really bad.
But Jay, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is the spell broken?
It's been broken.
Yes! Congratulations,
Thank
my
you.
man. You've dipped your wick and you've lived to fight another day. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Jay is a sexual vampire. If he doesn't have sex at least once every 3 months, he will turn into a mummified version of himself and go into a crypt and hibernate for at least 3 to 6 months until you
And I've been hibernating for many months.
Yeah, until he gets a little bit of a whiff of sex again, and he'll come out, and then and he'll prey on his next victim.
No. No, but it was a fantastic night. I just wanted to, I'm not going to say where, but I semi-technically broke into a house to have our time, to enjoy ourselves.
Dude, you are like a desperate 15-year-old boy about to have sex for the first time, where you're just like, all right, well, I can't do it at my house because my parents stay up late on Saturday.
It's not really that. It's just
you're visiting your uncle here from, you're down here from Boston, so we're gonna sneak into old man McCready's place across the street. He died 3 weeks ago. We're gonna go in there and do it.
I had access to an empty house, so it was one of those things where I knew it'd be okay, but I didn't get permission beforehand to go in.
God forbid the owners of that house ever go through there with a black light.
Yes, don't do that. I covered my tracks pretty well, I think, but don't
covered my tracks pretty well. So Jay, you've been laid.
Yes, I know. I sound so fucking lame. It's so bad.
Well, you are lame,
and it's lame, and it just sounds so lame that I'm like talking about just having sex, which I haven't done in a very long time, and it's just like, yeah, nice. And the girl is the best. I mean, we're really good friends. Circumstances just never really lead us into being able to like make it a relationship or whatever. But
yeah, 500 miles between you.
Yeah. So, but it was really good seeing her. It was a lot of fun. She's a great dance partner, and we have good times together. But yeah, other than that, Dave, I got nothing.
How do I get invited to such fancy soirees such as you do? You go to these Gatsby parties. You do like these. Who are these mythical, magical people that you're hanging out with that do the things that only
we
people
had a
do?
onesie party at Broken Goblet one time. All right. But that was magical.
That was not magical. That was just six idiots who all ordered onesies on Amazon and went to a bar.
That's true.
But you're always like doing these things that like only people do.
I know a lot of people, Dave. It's like kind of. I guess you could say it's networking, but I don't really network. I just know a lot of people, and I just kind of am attracted to go into do different things, and I have no responsibilities.
Is it the bro network? Like, do you network with other bros? Are you guys all Eskimo brothers? Is that what happened? Is that like? Are you doing the thing that happened in the league where Taco made like the Eskimo brothers?
My only quote unquote bros pretty much constitutes of us going out together to try and find where girls are and not really find them.
Here's the thing. I don't have to end the night in wild crazy sex because I'm married and I enjoy what I have at home. Yeah. I need to come on some of these matches because I'm not gonna lie, Jay, and I'm gonna be extremely honest with you. You're a boring ass motherfucker. I just want to be just candor all the way through.
Well,
you're a boring motherfucker.
I know
the things that you do, and I have to feel like you're lying. I feel like you see these things in obscure indie films, and then you're like, no one's seen that movie, so they'll believe I went to a Great Gatsby party. But I mean, no, you're always doing cool things, and like it's just like take your bro Dave out for one of these cool things. I clean up nice. I wear a suit real well.
I'm just always worried if it's too busy, too crowded. I know you don't feel very comfortable in those kind of circumstances. I keep. It can get that way.
I keep knuckle dusters in the pocket just in case I got to start swinging when people get too close. Now, yeah, I do.
That's the kind of place where you might have pulled them out.
I do hate crowds. I hate crowds, and I don't mind telling someone like, "Hey, buddy, if your ass brushes up against my dick one more time, I swear to God, I'll punch you in the back of the fucking head."
That's the old lacrosse mentality.
I just it's just weird because like I have this thing inside me that says like everyone has a personal bubble and I respect other people's personal bubbles. Even in crowds, I don't want to get too close to other people. Like, I don't care if it makes the crowd larger. I just don't want anyone's shoulders rubbing my shoulders, or their foot stepping on my foot, their breath in my face or on the back of my neck. I hate that. It's like,
I guess because I'm tall, I don't have that kind of like.
Exactly.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So for me, it's like sardine in a can, and like
that kind of makes sense, I guess.
I mean, I'm only 5'9", so like I'm looking up at other people who are like around me, like and so the majority. I mean, the average height in the United States is 6 foot now. It used to be 5'8". Now
is it really?
Now it's 6 foot. So I am below average height. So I look up to most people just physically in general. But then like crowds, no, like you feel like and
that makes a lot more sense.
And then you can't breathe, and then you're walking around like you almost want to like just take a straw from a drink and stick it up in the air so you can just breathe fresh air down. You look like a fucking cartoon hiding under the pond with a fucking with a straw sitting there. You're just breathing, just trying to get any like little bit of fresh air that you can. But no, I always wonder. I was like, does Jay really do all these things? Does he do these things? Like.
I guess that's where all my money goes. I just, that's why I'm so poor.
True story. About a year ago, Jay was looking into getting his own apartment, which is something he's still
I'm still looking,
toying with the idea of. He's the only person
I'm
I've
actually.
ever known of that.
If to be honest, I have a lot of things at work that are shaking up pretty significantly in a couple of months. So there's quite a big change going to happen for me. Work-wise, financially-wise, and potentially moving out-wise, all kinds of shit. So, we'll see. Things are getting laid out.
So, true story. When Jay was hardcore looking for an apartment before he went on his looking for an apartment hiatus that he's currently been on for a year and a half. He was texting me about how like he's looking at apartments and he doesn't think that he can afford any of them. Blah blah blah. Let's not worry about price or anything like that. He's obviously, I mean, my boy's going to Great Gatsby parties and fucking, you know, dining at the 5-4 lounge or whatever. Who cares? You know, he's not a high roller, but the man wants to take care of himself. He shops at Banana Republic, everybody. Only the finest for my man.
The sizes fit me the best. Come on.
Only the best for my man. So he sends me a text message about like, you know, he doesn't think he's gonna be able to do it, you know, price and stuff, and I was just like, oh well, man, like you just got a budget, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. Motherfucker was 32 years old texting me about not knowing how to budget.
Well, I never really had to.
I remember asking you, like, what do you usually drop on a weekend? And you were like, I don't know, like $250. And I was like, are you kidding me?
I don't know about that. Not anymore, at least. Not that much.
No, but then, like, yeah, $200, $250. It's like, it might not be a lot to some people, but to middle, you know, to the suburbs of Philadelphia people, dropping $200, $250 on a weekend is a lot. Like, a lot. So I was like, okay, there you go. Skip all that. Cut that down to $50 on a weekend. Go out only one night.
I remember after that, I literally did mark down my finances and like everything I spend, and it is really kind of hard to keep track. I'm trying to do that as far as like keep track of like my daily things and consolidate whatever, like making sure I can just focus on a little bit more of how much is coming out of where and how much daily.
Are you still doing
spending. That? Yeah, I mean, I've definitely cut out a lot of like ordering out for lunch, for example.
Okay,
that's like $200 a month, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's, so it adds up. Yeah, if you figure at least $10 a day for
around
lunch.
Yeah. So, and that's usually what it constitutes being. So that right there, trying to nip that.
But the moral of the story is now while you're not hardcore budgeting, you are now aware of where your money goes and you're watching your money. It's another graduation moment, buddy. Like, super mediocrely proud of you that like I got a
long ways to go, David.
I know.
Long ways to go,
but you're starting to adult. I mean, you're not a pro yet, you're still an amateur adult, but you're adulting, and it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. And committing adultery while doing it, which is what every adult dreams of doing. Just getting away with it. No, but yeah, it's very proud of you. So anything else you did
I'm trying, but I'm excited to talk about what could shake up in the work environment in a couple months. So we shall see.
That's not what our fans care about, Jay. Our fans care about what you're putting your dick in.
But it would be more money, promotion, and potential school.
Oh
God, the dreaded school. I know.
Yeah. Well, all right. So for me this weekend on Friday, I recorded 2 episodes of Loot Quest with my good friend Shampoo, who runs that show over there, and Caleb from Netflix and Swell, and of course John from Now in Technicolor. So if you're a nerd like me and you're not cool like Jay, because, you know, Jay's too cool for this type of stuff, and you enjoy tabletop RPGs, you know, make sure you go and check out Loot Quest. You know, it's a real fun Star Wars tabletop RPG game played live for you with some funny characters and maybe us getting super drunk a lot.
Okay.
That's what I did Friday night, Jay. I continued promoting our show and our network in a positive light, unlike you. But it was fun. Got super drunk doing that, like I always do. Played till like 4 o'clock in the morning, like we always do, because, you know, best well laid plans. You say, yeah, we're gonna record for 2 hours, 2 episodes. You record 2 episodes in 6 hours, and you know you feel good. We started like 8 o'clock at night, and we were done by 4 a.m. I was beat. Like, I'm fucking tired. Like, that's a full day of work right there on the microphone.
Yeah.
But then after that, on Saturday, I was just pretty shitty. Like, I just felt like shit. Took my blowfish, felt better, but it started raining, so couldn't do any of my yard work, so I just kind of sat around. And then Lauren had to go to a party, and guys, this is true love right here. All right, my wife went out with friends from work on Friday. On Saturday, she was having a girls' night, a seafood night for all of her girls. Now, my wife likes when I cook, and her favorite thing that I cook is ahi tuna. She loves when I cook ahi tuna, so she had me go and get all the ingredients to make her ahi tuna so she can take it to all of her friends on Saturday night when they were all hanging out.
So it's like a house girls party kind of thing. You bring your own dish.
Right. Down in Fishtown in the city. One of her friends lives there. So I spend my morning on Saturday running around and getting the ingredients and stuff. And then I have to come home, and then I got to put the steaks in a marinade, and I let them sit in a marinade for a little while. And then I went to Broken Goblet to get the beers that we're drinking. And I hung out at Broken Goblet most of the afternoon because it was actually like a little bit of a fair. It was like a little bit of an event. Met with Mike. I made up some Super Movie Brothers promotional packs and stuff like that. Because I'm usually hanging around with Mike, and people come up, and like he's very nice. Like he introduces us and tells us that like we were the guys that did the live shows here, and that like, oh yeah, we're gonna be doing more of their live shows. Like he's very nice and like promotes us and stuff like that. So I was handing out the promotional stuff, and had Luca with me. And
very cool.
So if you have a husky and you go anywhere, you wind up having to explain to people the behaviors of a husky. Just a lot, because everyone comes up and like, oh my god, I want a dog like this, and it's like, no, he's been out of the house for 3 hours. He's beat right now. This is good. When we got here, he was awful. Like huskies are terrible like creatures that they were a breed of dog that was spat out from hell. that has been built.
You sound like my mother.
That can be built to resist all manners of temperature, whether hot or cold. And they were solely sent to destroy your house and property, and stress out anybody who owns them, possibly to the point of suicide. Like that's what a husky was made to do, which is why so many of them are bought as puppies and then wind up in kennels and wind up in pounds and in ASPCAs and stuff like that, because nobody is prepared for the energy level that is a husky. So I, as a husky owner and someone who has had several of them now, I think it's my responsibility when people come up and they're like, they're so gorgeous. And I was like, beneath all of that, in that stomach is hellfire. just picture like if Wile E. Coyote caught the Roadrunner, fucked the Roadrunner, then the Roadrunner had a child, and then that child went to school, and in that school, all the classes were taught by Freddy Krueger, Chucky from Child's Play, Michael Myers, and everybody from every type of horrific horror movie you could think of from the 80s. And then that child went off and went to college and then came back and destroyed your life. That is what a husky is. So I feel like people need to understand that, like, this is a dog that when it wakes up in the morning,
it's kind of what the devil would do. It would lure you in by its beauty and charm, and then all of a sudden destroy you.
So he's super loving in the morning. He goes out, he does his piss, he comes back in, he lays for a little bit, but then like something happens around like 10 or 11 a.m. where the bottle rocket that's in his ass goes off, and he pops up, and then it's just hell until you tire him out. So you have to be the type of person that's willing to walk him in the morning and then walk them or run them at night. Like, they need that type of exercise. If they don't have an outlet, they will fuck your shit up.
Yes.
And especially when they're adopted, like Luca is, and he has such a fucked up past that, like, you know, you wind up working your entire life and routine around them. So when people are like, he's gorgeous, he's beautiful, I love him, and I'm like, you need to understand what you're getting into if you are serious about going out and getting one of these puppies. Because if you think that like you could possibly handle 10 2-year-olds at one time, you are qualified to own a husky. If you work at a daycare, you're qualified to own a husky.
But if you work at a daycare, you do not want to go home to a husky.
So everybody's touching.
I love visiting Luca once a week.
Yeah.
And I see him on his good times.
That's enough about that. But so everyone's touching him, everyone's talking to him and stuff like that. We had a great time there. I was there with my cousin Ray, who also owns a husky. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Two huskies get together and everybody thinks they're fighting. And I was like, nope, biting each other is just kind of how they play, and howling and barking at each other, and a lot of dogs do that. Generally hurting each other. Like that's fun to them. It's fun. Yeah, they're sadomasochists. Don't worry about it. So after Broken Goblet was done, I came home and we fed Luca. I because the wives went out, me and our friend Ryan went out. His fiance was also going to this party that Lauren was going to. So we went out. We went out to Humetville first, had a couple good beers there. And Jay, I was witness to something that I've never really encountered before. So I picked Dugan up from his house, like a good date should.
Yes.
And when he gets in the car, we're driving there, and I'm wearing a button-up shirt. He's wearing a button-up shirt. My button-up shirt's gray. His button-up shirt's gray. And then he's looking at me, he goes, "Did you get your shirt at Target?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Me too." We're wearing the same fucking shirt.
Oh my Lord.
So we get to the bar. So we're both wearing both wearing jeans and the same shirt, and pretty much like running shoes.
He could have went back in and changed his shirt.
And running shoes. No, because we're not guys who actually really care about that shit.
Yeah.
2 other guys at the bar in the same shirt.
No.
4 people.
Wait, the same shirt that you're wearing?
Same shirt that I was wearing, same shirt that Dugan was wearing.
Whoa.
2 other guys at the bar. And then we looked at each other, and we're both early 30s with beards. He would have saw Super Troopers with me. Is what I'm saying. I'm a type. You're this beautiful unicorn that's 6'7". I go into a place and I'm a type. I'm a short, stout, 30-something male with a beard who wears a button-up shirt, tight jeans, and sport shoes. And that was everybody in this bar.
Were those other 2 guys friends as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, hanging out with each other. That's why I was like, dude, we should have brought our butterfly knives. We could have.
You guys should have gotten a photo together. The 4 of you
could have had a fight. So we ended up leaving there, paying our tab, and we went to Broken Goblet and just heard the world's most awful bands. Just terrible. That was my Saturday night. Sunday, Jay. This is where we get into what did you watch this week?
I watched a Netflix movie called Anon. This stars Clive Owen and Amanda Seyfried. It's a sci-fi movie that it's just is okay. It has a lot of notions of interesting kind of concepts in the future.
I heard a few things. People talked about this it's the spiritual successor to Children of Men. I read a few things that were talking about it like it was.
Ooh, I don't. Wow.
Not that. No,
whoa.
No,
wait.
No one said it was as.
I know.
Good.
I know. But
spiritual successor.
That's quite a spirit. I'm not exactly sure what to make of that.
It's quite a feat for the spirit to leave Children of Men and possess this film.
This is written and directed by Andrew Niccol, and he's the guy that's done Gattaca, which I really do love and enjoy, and The Truman Show, In Time, Lord of War. He's written. He's done some interesting things.
We're into 3 movies that I like. Sure.
And he has a look, and it's definitely a watchable movie. It's just kind of predictable, and it relies so much on weird technology that you see on the screen so much where it kind of gets really annoying. It gets really annoying.
All right, so weird
technology. A lot of digital stuff coming up on the screen because your eye can see digital profiles of every single person that you come across.
Oh,
so it's kind of scanning, but it's the whole movie, so it gets a little old, and then
So let me ask you
Clive
something.
Owen's fine. He's a leading man. I like him.
That happens frequently in Black Mirror and stuff like that.
Right. This is very much a Black Mirror type of episode. Movie.
You're okay with that in Black Mirror at this point because you expect it, right? So is it
Sure.
because this was a film and you weren't quite expecting that type of stuff up on the screen? You know what I mean? There's a lot of movies that are doing this type of stuff now. There was that horror film that came out several years ago that was somewhat popular where everybody was on webcams. It was called Unfriended. Now there's a film coming out with John Cho where he's a guy who's pretty much on Skype the whole time talking to his daughter's friends, finding out about her disappearance.
I don't mind if it comes and goes, but when it's constant.
No, what I'm talking about, these are movies that are constantly like that. There's a constant chat message going on the side. So
that. No, I don't like that. I would not like that. That's not my kind of thing.
Here's the thing about the human brain, right? The human brain evolves. It evolves.
That's beyond human brains.
No, but it evolves rapidly from generation to generation. So, and I think I've used this analogy before. Sit next to your dad and watch TV with him, and when he can't find anything on, and watch how he flicks through the channels. And I guarantee you, he spends at least 5 to 10 seconds on each channel he flicks through. Then you go and do the same act and see how quickly you skim.
Yeah.
Much quicker. Now, imagine kids that are in high school today. They're processing information at a much quicker pace than you and I are. So when you start making movies now, especially like a horror film like Unfriended and stuff like that, the the brain now is in the digital age is far more, I sound like a fucking school teacher, in the digital age is far more capable of watching what's going on the screen as well as watch the chat that's going on the right hand side of the screen and stuff like that. So what I'm saying, Jay, is more films like this are going to be coming where you kind of have to pay attention to multiple things. I mean, even when you think about the way you watch movies, you may get engrossed in them, but there's some movies that you watch with the cell phone in your hand and you're scrolling through different articles and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I'm home. I mean, I do sometimes, especially with people involved with the project that I'm interested in.
Human brains are getting better at multitasking, so don't be afraid of films like this, Jay, because there's going to be more coming. There's going to be more.
Well, yes, I know, and it didn't bother me that much. If there was a chat room thing on the side of the screen, that would bother me a lot.
World
more.
Progress is not going to wait for your slow ass brain.
but the best part about it is the way it pops up. You can't even read what the hell it's even up on the screen. It's so small, so quick and gone. So it doesn't distract you in that kind of regard. But being up there gets a little annoying at times. But overall, it's still not quite worth your time. I think it's an intriguing concept, sci-fi movie if you want to give it a go. Amanda Seyfried, she has this like mic drop moment, final ending line, and you just kind of roll your eyes at, and it's like, really?
And does she go?
Really?
And it really was a none of us. And everyone goes, "Oh, she said a none. That's the movie's title. It's over."
Well, you'll see.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
I saw The Little Hours, Dave. This is an odd little comedy. So this is like taking place in the Middle Ages. And
I too have seen this film.
Oh yeah,
it takes place in 1563.
Yes. So this has an interesting ensemble cast with Alison Brie, Dave Franco.
There was one moment,
Aubrey, your girl, Aubrey Plaza.
I love her, and there's only one moment that I laughed, and it's in the very beginning when the groundskeeper looks at him and says,
the first time,
"Good morning, ladies." What the fuck are you doing? Don't you fucking look at us, you piece of shit! What the fuck are you doing? It's just something.
It sets
weird.
the tone up right there.
It's just something weird about seeing a nun in
I know,
just screaming at someone
because
like
the first 5 minutes is very tranquil.
It reminded me of that line in Chasing Amy when he's talking when Banky is talking about Jason Lee's character is talking about growing up in and going to Catholic school and stuff like that, and Ben Affleck makes the comment and he's just like, "Have you ever heard a nun call a kid a fucking cunt rag?" The things you don't expect nuns to say, and they do. So that aspect was interesting. Although believing that Dave Franco's cock is golden and is something that everybody wants is something that I didn't believe. I didn't buy that.
Yeah, every time he was on screen, every girl and guy. John C. Reilly even falls in love with the guy pretty much. It's like,
no, he's just happy to have a drinking buddy.
But I don't know if it's
John C.
I'm trying to think, is it the times? Is it just because there's no males around at all?
John C. Reilly brings him around in the same way that you are the co-host of this show. No one likes drinking alone, Jay.
This is true.
That's all his role is to him. But I did find the comedy to be hit or miss completely throughout.
It's very hit or miss, and it's one of those things that tonally it's very hit or miss. You go with it, you get out of it. You go with it, you kind of get out of it again, and it kind of goes back and forth like that. But it's an interesting concept that just didn't quite work out. I don't know this director and writer Jeff Baena that did it. He's just a small time kind of guy. He's done Life After Beth. Joshi, he was a writer at. I think he's mostly a writer with some small things, but he must have some friends with everybody in the cast for this movie to kind of get pushed through, I believe. But it's a fun little concept. I'm not surprised a lot of these actors tackled it. And also, I finally saw The Light Between Oceans. This movie is a movie that I've wanted to see. I saw it in 2 days because I fell asleep in the middle of it. It's a very long melodrama that was directed by Derek Cianfrance. I am a huge fan of Derek's. He's obviously done Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines, a bunch of great commercials, a lot of good documentaries. He, again, did a great job directing this movie. I think it's an incredible adaptation from a novel that looks like a novel put to screen. But the material is just so heavy. It's just so dark and
looks like a
depressing.
novel put to screen, so it is just the words from the novel scrolling
All right,
up.
come on, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
Oh.
No, I don't.
Fuck you. All right.
Chapter 1. It was a cold day in December.
He just does a very good job adapting this screenplay
Fair enough.
to screen.
All right.
And he wrote it. So,
Good for him.
I know. And Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander met and fell in love on this movie and are married in real life now.
Jay, I have to say that you are the absolute worst person to sell a film. You just like,
Haven't we established that already?
I guarantee you, I want everyone to do this right now while you're listening to this podcast. Just pause it for like 15 seconds.
First of all, I don't.
Pause it for 15 seconds and try to remember exactly what Jay just said. And try to remember the name of that film that he said.
Maybe I should go back to school, take an effective speaking class again.
I took communications, yeah.
Oh boy.
So for me, when I woke up on Sunday, I woke up a little bit early, even though I had been drinking all night. But I woke up early, and I'm the type of person, once I wake up, I don't go back to sleep. So I decided, since our good friend Pete from Podstalgic was going to be doing a podcast where he discusses Cobra Kai, the sequel series to the Karate Kid that's streaming on YouTube Red. He was going to be talking about that. I decided before I started listening to that podcast, I wanted to watch the whole series. And since it's 10 episodes and a half hour, 5 hours I spent watching Cobra Kai. I watched the entire series. And Jay, I am not sorry that I did. I am not sorry at all that I did that on Sunday. So
I'm envious.
So
I really want to see it. And it actually got picked up for season 2.
It did get picked up for season 2. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it in the same respect that I enjoyed the Karate Kid films. They are cheesy. Yeah, it's cheesy. It follows that type of 80s cheese even in this TV show. Yeah. But it's still just great fun. You know, if you're a fan of the Karate Kid movies, then it's just great fun. But Lauren woke up sometime in like mid episode 3, and instead of going back, I just explained like where we were in the story, and then she continued watching it with me, and we kept referring to William Zabka as Johnny Karate. Because he's Johnny Lawrence and Johnny Karate from Parks and Rec. And then we just kept wondering what Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother would say about this show. Because if you remember, Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother, his entire theory was that the Karate Kid was not Daniel LaRusso. It was Johnny Lawrence, because he's the kid that actually had the heart and trained and did everything he could to be the best. Danny just picked up karate several weeks ago and learned from a great master and became better than Johnny Lawrence. So the real Karate Kid to Barney Stinson is William Zabka.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, it's not a great show. It's a lot of fun. And when Lauren was watching it, we were laughing at like some of the aspects, and I explained to her, I was like, I don't like Fuller House, right? Like, I think that show is stupid. It's not my thing. Like, I watched Full House when I was a kid. When I watch it now, I don't.
That kind of 90s cheese works in the 90s, not so much now.
Right, but I'm a big fan of like the Karate Kid and stuff like that. So watching that 80s cheese and then watching this now, it's all nostalgia for me. But for Lauren, it was a lot of eye rolls. So be cautious going into it. You know, if you're not a Karate Kid fan, if you can't get down with some 80s cheese every now and then, it's not going to be a show for you. But I had a lot of great fun watching it, and you know, it did a pretty good job of balancing comedy and like drama, even if it was completely melodramatic and very much like a WB teen sitcom at sometimes. It was still enjoyable. I don't regret wasting 5 hours watching it. But Jay, you know I have a disease. You know I have a problem.
Oh boy. You watched all the movies.
I
after
watched
that.
all 3 Karate Kid films after that. Lauren was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch the next Karate Kid," and I was like, "No, we stop. We stop when Daniel LaRusso's done. We do not continue to Hilary
To
Swank."
Jaden Smith.
No, Hilary Swank was the next Karate Kid in 1994. So there's the Karate Kid. And that's where he fights against Johnny Lawrence in the final tournament and wins. And then there is then there is Karate Kid 2, which is when they go to Okinawa and he goes to Mr. Miyagi's village and fights.
I do like that one.
Fights the nephew of Sato.
Quite a lot.
Live or die, man.
I love that one.
Die. Wrong answer. Honk. And then there's the third one where Cobra Kai has this elaborate plan to take down Mr. Miyagi and Danny LaRusso for disrespecting the Cobra Kai dojo. and they sabotage him in defending his title at the tournament again. So we ended there. The next Karate Kid is when Daniel has grown up and moved away, and Mr. Miyagi meets Hilary Swank, who is a troubled teen at a high school, and he trains her as the next Karate Kid.
I guess.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And then, of course, no, we did not watch the Jaden Smith one, but I did watch all 3 of the Karate Kid movies. That took us up to about 3 p.m. in the afternoon now.
Okay.
That's where we're at. And I still wasn't done yet. I just saw that streaming to Hulu was Baywatch.
Oh, dude, that just dropped on I think it's like Showtime perhaps, or maybe Amazon.
So
it's Amazon.
It's on Hulu streaming. So I decided I'll just watch Baywatch. Why not?
Damn it.
It's as fucking awful as everybody has made it out to be.
Oh boy.
It is as bad as you think. 100%.
But still, you kind of have to see it.
No. No, you don't.
So it's not that kind of bad. It's like a must-watch bad.
If you're super into seeing a short guy who has a human growth hormone addiction, like Zac Efron does, then watch it.
Yeah, he does look freakish. Like really weirdly.
Like we were watching, and I looked at Lauren. I was like, "Is that attractive?" And she said, "No." And I was like, "Real?" Because like that is like the ideal male physique, right? And she goes, "No, nothing looks right on him. Like everything looks
right?
wrong.
It doesn't look right."
Yeah, she's like, it all looks wrong.
I don't think he consumes any like fat whatsoever.
We did do it shortly afterwards, though. So part of me thinks like maybe she was watching that and went, unless,
or it's The Rock,
or it's the it's not. I don't think it's The Rock.
I think it's more The Rock than it is Heffron.
She's not
for her.
She's not into like big mounds of muscle. Like that's not like really her thing. That's not. She's
well. What are you saying? It's the other guy.
yeah. It's the fat guy. it's the guy who does stupid dancing. But no. The film was garbage. I actually didn't finish it. We actually wound up shutting it off to enjoy some of our Sunday shows instead. And then the final thing I watched, Jay, we're going to talk about later on. I'm not going to get into it now, but I watched Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs.
It's about time, Dave.
I know. It was a movie I was very hot on. It did not show anywhere around here. It showed for one weekend in our Neshaminy Theater, and it happened to be a weekend I had Logan.
Kind of surprising, actually. I don't know what it is about that movie that...
Festival film. That's all it was. It's a festival film.
Okay.
Like other Wes Anderson films. But Jay, we've been going for about 40 minutes now. So why don't we end this little wrap up here, this little discussion we have at the beginning of every week, and let's get into what trailers had come out this week.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Time to get into some trailer park. Jay, we got 2 trailers that we're going to be discussing. One is a film that the Countdown Pod, Paul from there, told us was one of his most anticipated films of 2018. And you and I didn't have our list because we were going to temper our expectations and wait and see a trailer. Well, the trailer's out now, so we're going to talk about it. But before we get into that trailer, we're going to be discussing the new Spike Lee joint. Spike Lee, who's largely been unseen as far as big Hollywood productions go for quite some time. time. One of the last few I can really remember, other than a few of his documentaries, was a film that I very much enjoyed, The Inside Man. And then he also had The Miracle at St. Anna, but he hasn't really been around in movies much lately.
Not too much.
But his next film looks awfully interesting.
Hello, this is Ron Stallworth calling. Who am I speaking with?
This is David Duke.
Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. That David Duke?
God. Last time I checked. What can I do for it?
Well, since you asked, I hate blacks. I hate Jews, Mexicans and Irish, Italians and Chinese. But my mouth to God's ears, I really hate those black rats. And anyone else, really, that doesn't have pure white Aryan blood running through their veins.
I'm happy to be talking to a true white American.
God bless white America.
This story is extremely interesting, number one. It is the story of Colorado Springs' very first black detective. So it takes place in the late 1960s, early 1970s, which obviously was a tumultuous time in our country where there was obviously still rampant racism going on in certain parts of our country. And let's not kid ourselves, in most parts of our country. So he is the first black detective, and he takes it upon himself to be the one to take down the local Ku Klux Klan order, who obviously causes problems for all manner of people. And to do so, he puts on his, and I love this because you know, a lot of comedians have talked about this. He puts on his white voice to make a phone call, establishes contact, and then they use a white police officer to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan and then take them down from the inside. That white officer is being played by Adam Driver. And the film is obviously directed by Spike Lee. It's going to be produced by Jordan Peele. And someone who I'm very happy to see is John David Washington. And if you're a fan of Ballers, you know, he plays Ricky Jarrett. And I absolutely love that TV show. And I've always said he's one of the best parts. And a lot of people always talk about that's Denzel Washington's son. Yes, it is. That is 100% Denzel Washington's son. And, you know, he has some great acting chops in Ballers, and it really looks like he's bringing it here as well.
It just seems like he's just a natural. It's fucking authentic. I mean, and I buy it 100%. And this trailer, I'm buying it.
Right. He's the one that's kind of adding a little bit of like, so he's adding the heart for why they're doing what they're doing, right? Like this is his investigation. He's the one adding the heart. But he's also adding a level of he's also adding a comedic element to it as well. That is also refreshing and stuff like that to see. Yeah. Especially with something that is obviously it's an extremely serious topic, but at the same time, you know, they're obviously having a little bit of fun with it as well, or especially with the trailer, they are.
Yeah, it has a good dose of like Steven Soderbergh to me.
It does. Yeah, it does.
The way at least the trailer's cut.
One of the interesting things about Spike Lee is you can never like watch a Spike Lee film and be like, that is 100% a Spike Lee film. He does come
Spike
different.
Lee joint. To be specific,
he does come differently every time he comes out with a film, which is something that's very nice. Like it's
very appreciated.
In a little bit, we're going to be having our Wes Anderson film spotlight. That's a guy where you can see a single frame of his film and say that's a Wes Anderson film.
Yep.
Spike Lee, you can't do that with, and that's something that's extremely refreshing to me. And it's interesting to see Chris Topher Grace in something, because we haven't seen Topher Grace in some fucking time, man.
Well, yeah, and he's definitely a good actor.
He's not a bad actor.
He's not a great actor. He's not a bad actor. He's a good actor who deserves a little bit more now on screen.
Yeah.
I think the 70s show kind of tarnished him quite a bit. I think more than the other actors.
I think his selection of roles after tarnished him a little bit.
Perhaps. Kind of went the Hollywood route a little bit too much.
Was that his film? No, the film where he dates Dennis Quaid's daughter.
I saw.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, it's not bad, but then there's also Take Me Home Tonight, and then there's also
I kind of like that too.
his role in Predators, and then what really killed him, and
See, I got a soft spot for Topher.
I guess you do. Because I don't. But then there's also obviously his turn in Spider-Man 3, which I think really wound up hurting him. Yeah. So I mean,
Not a soft spot for that one.
but he has had some pretty successful spots in some indie films and stuff like that in years since then. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot to really talk about with him. So it's interesting to see him here because I mean, like we were talking about, Spike Lee hasn't had a whole lot to really talk about with him either. So it's just interesting. I wonder like what type of draw he had to this film to bring in the people that he did. Adam Driver, we know, not that he'll do anything, but if I think he's the type of guy that if he reads a script or hears a proof of something and he goes, yeah, I'm interested, I'll do it.
Yeah. No, I think Adam has a good knack of knowing what's up his alley, but also what's good and quality. And plus, he is one of those kind of actors that can pick and choose what he wants to do. However, he even does stuff like Don Quixote with...
yeah, that almost made news this week. That we didn't talk about
almost made news. Terry Gilliam's long-awaited film that just never has been able to hit the screen.
In production since Monty Python was on the air.
Yes.
And has gone through so many different problems. At one point, they were actually in production, and then the production got flooded. Things got destroyed.
With Johnny Depp.
Yep. And then he came back to start filming it again, and then it got put into a lawsuit.
And then a documentary was made about the whole nonsense of it all.
And now the film's coming out, but it may never see U.S. release.
So it's being dropped currently right now in the Cannes Film Festival in France, and they lost their U.S. distribution somehow. So I'm sure it will see the light of day. It's definitely has a good headline for it to be produced somewhere, somehow. I mean, I'm sure at least Netflix will pick it up or something. But regardless, the trailer was out there. It's dropped. It looks enjoyable enough. Put it that way.
But at the very least, BLACKkKLANSMAN is now something that is on my radar. I'm interested in seeing it. I think the trailer looks interesting. And at the very least, it looks like it's a movie that'll make you think a little bit, but it's also a movie that's going to make you laugh
exactly.
a bit. So definitely looking forward to that. I might actually go out to the theaters to see BLACKkKLANSMAN when it comes out. I'm just a little worried that it's a bit like Logan Lucky, which is a Soderbergh film that you and I were pretty excited for. We really dug the trailers on, and then the film came out, and it wasn't bad, but it was just extremely so. And I'm a little bit worried about that with it.
Right.
All right, Jay, let's get into our next film.
Tell me about the mission. Did you see anything unusual?
Like an alien, you mean?
You saw something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And your men? Someone or something tore them to pieces.
I think they're attempting hybridization. They're upgrading on every planet they visit.
We need to know if you pose a threat.
We're assassins. Isn't posing a threat kind of the point?
All right, man. So there is a lot of explosions, a lot of implied predator killings going on. But is this the film that people were expecting? So obviously we're talking about the 2018 Predator film, which is being written by Shane Black and Fred Dekker. Fred Dekker from Night of the Creeps, Shane Black, writer of Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2, is promoting that Shane Black was the writer behind Iron Man 3. Is that smart? Saying from the directorial mind of the director behind Iron Man 3. Is that maybe in the post Infinity War world it might be
maybe if they made the font of the 3 smaller?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not exactly
Iron Man
sure.
3 is not the worst Marvel film, and it's not the worst Iron Man film.
I think it's been so long it was so long ago where I think a lot of people forgot.
Well,
about
they can't say from the writer and director of Nice Guys, can they? Because even though we
Unfortunately
love
not.
that film,
You would think they would.
Yeah, it didn't do well in the theaters. It was a flop. So
I
they
actually
can't
just
say that.
recently rewatched it. I didn't mention it on the podcast, but it was just another one of those random ones that I just threw on again because I just felt like watching something fun.
But if you say, you know, from the writer and director, from the writer of Lethal Weapon, like, then people go, oh, the TV show, because that's pretty garbage too. So
Good point.
I mean, Shane Black, guys like us and people who listen to this podcast, and obviously Paul from the Countdown Pod, who said this was one of his most anticipated films of 2018, understand who Shane Black is.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot that you could throw out there to his credit and be like, this is why you need to watch this
To
film.
the mainstream audience, for sure.
And this trailer is 100% not a great advertisement for this film either, just to be honest with you. It's pretty lackluster. I don't need a story trailer, but from what they've shown me, this seems like pretty cookie cutter sci-fi monster attacks a town and people fight it off.
That's it. That is exactly it. The music, the way the trailer's cut, it has no flair of Shane Black whatsoever.
There was one moment of Shane Black in it, and it's when they're interviewing the Marine who found the crashed ship, and he's sitting there and he's in a lie detector test, and you know they asked if he saw something, and he said something like
Quinn
an alien.
McKenna, played by Boyd Holbrook.
Right. So he says like saw something like an alien. And you could see on the lines behind him that he's not lying because he's on a lie detector test. And Sterling K. Brown looks at the other guy. You think he saw an alien? Oh, he definitely saw an alien. That's like a Shane Black moment that was hidden in this trailer.
This has an interesting cast, though. I mean, it's quite extensive.
And you do see a lot of them in it. So Keegan-Michael Key, and then also Thomas Jane.
Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones, and you also get the Trevante Rhodes from Moonlight.
All of them
Oscar
are
winner.
playing Afghanistan, Iraqi soldiers who have got themselves in some sort of hot water for some reason and are on a prisoner transport to this military
I
facility.
think along with Olivia Munn. Right?
So, so they're all on here, and the guy who they're interviewing in the beginning is also going there because of what he has seen in the alien, which is the Predator. And at some point, the Predator attacks the town, possibly because the little kid in the beginning turned on
That's
a homing
what the description
beacon.
says on IMDb. Just to throw it out there.
I never read the description on IMDb. I'm just putting.
And I didn't want to believe it because the trailer kind of teased that.
Yeah.
You know, with him playing with the toys and the alien ship kind of crashing around.
But the real question is, where did he get the stuff? Like, where did he get that stuff?
Well, that's to be determined.
Exactly. So like, and there's an interesting piece of editing, interesting with quotation marks, where it looks like the kid controlling that thing that he takes off the Predator's gauntlet is causing this, ship to crash. And it's like, that's probably not what's going on. When he turned it on, no, it probably was a homing beacon that called other ones there. They also drop another interesting line that the Predator that we're dealing with in this film, this Yaktja, as they're called in the comics and in other ancillary materials, is completely different than other ones in that it might be the same as them, but every planet they visit, they upgrade and advance their technology to deal with the prey that they're working with. So since they are going to be throwing nods to the fact that a Predator was on Earth in 1986 and again in the 1990s, fighting both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny Glover, respectively. They have upgraded their tech to fight humans again, and now they're fighting humans in suburbia in 2018. And Shane Black has said when this film takes place, it is before Predators with Adrian Brody. So it takes place before that as well. So they don't have any influence on that film whatsoever. Find it pretty lackluster, just to be honest with you.
It was really disappointing.
Yeah, and I find Olivia Munn to be grating in a lot of things. Do you think this might be a case where, like, you and I hated the Venom trailer and we got the second Venom trailer and me and you liked it?
Possible.
Not everybody liked the second Venom trailer, I should say. A lot of people
That is true.
are unhappy with the way Venom looks. They were unhappy with that trailer. They still think it's going in a wrong direction. You and I are more on board with Venom after the second trailer. Do you think this might get a second trailer and might bring us back, might bring us on
I am
board?
optimistic with that.
So am I, because I really do like Fred Dekker and I do like Shane Black. There's not a whole lot of things Shane Black has written and directed that I haven't liked, and I even do like Iron Man 3 to an extent. If you go back and listen to our Marvel Lightning rounds that we did, there was a lot of things that I found enjoyable about Iron Man 3. So it's going to be interesting. I just wonder, is this another case where like Shane Black was in the MCU picking up like a pretty big property like Iron Man and he had the MCU execs on top of him? Are the Fox execs doing the same thing to him in this film because Predator is something they want to bring back, is something they want to make a big property again?
It's a big name.
Yeah, they've tried several times. It hasn't really stuck or hasn't really worked. But it's definitely a viable property they want to make some money out of before that acquisition is completely, done with Disney. And do you really think Disney's going to do a Predator film?
Not anytime soon.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm definitely tempered expectations completely, not blown away by this trailer. I'm gonna be honest with you, they do not have my butt in seat day one.
Oh, as of right now, hell no.
No, not at all. But I am gonna watch the film. I'm gonna watch more trailers. I'm gonna figure out what's going on with it. Like this is a very, very brief, almost like a teaser trailer where they're not really explaining a whole lot. But they're showing you a few things that might be interesting. You're just not quite sure. Like the whole idea of Predator in suburbia seemed like it could be interesting if done right, and it seems like from this they're going a little bit more cheese. Like they're going a little bit more Alien versus Predator Requiem that I want to see. Let's end this trailer park. If you watch both of these trailers, you got anything you want to discuss with us, and anything that we didn't talk about in these trailers that you found interesting, please reach out to us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod or on Facebook, Super Movie Brothers Podcast on there. All right, it's time to get into some beers. But before we do, we're going to have to drop a line to our sponsor. We are sponsored by Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover remedy that you can buy on the market. You can head over to www.forhangovers.com and use the code SMBFISH to get yourself 15% off. It's very easy to use. You just put 2 tabs in about 8 ounces of water. That'll dissolve. You drink that down real quick, and it cures that hangover in about 15 minutes.
It definitely does. I've been living by that thing for the last weekend.
Interestingly enough, I gave Mike from Broken Goblet some Blowfish, and he had a hangover on Saturday, and he didn't get a chance to take it right away, but when I went back to Broken Goblet later on that night, he had taken it, and he said, knocked it right out of him. So that is a man who brewed the beer that we are going to be drinking tonight.
Yes.
Says that Blowfish works. And at only around $2 a dose, you can get yourself some Blowfish and no longer have to dread going to work on Friday after Thirsty Thursday with a knacker hangover.
It's true.
So head over to forhangovers.com and use the promo code SMBFISH. Jay, we have a drunk scene to do this week. And this drunk scene comes out of another Fox X-Men movie, Deadpool. Since Deadpool 2 is going to be coming out next week and we're going to be having our review, I figured what better time to put a Deadpool drunk scene out there than now.
All right, Kahlua, Bailey's, and whipped cream. I give you a blowjob. Why do you make me make that?
Kelly. Take that over to Buck, please, and tell him it's from Booth. Little foreplay.
Remind me what good will come of this?
I don't take the shits, I just disturb them.
Oh, hold up. What you want? Cheers. To your health. Fuck you. Come here. That's a new stool. Stay the fuck down. All right, move. Fuck the rest. Move it, ain't going down. Yeah. He's still breathing.
I love how everybody laments. He's still breathing. Aww.
Yeah, they go at each other. You know?
It's such a great scene because that is where we. It's a fun scene because not only do you get to see Ryan Reynolds starting shit up as Deadpool, but as Wade Wilson at this point. He hasn't even been been made into Deadpool yet. But we learn where he gets his name. That in this bar filled with assassins and bad guys is a list of names, and everyone has some picked when they will die, and with a big pot. So it's their Deadpool, and he likes to stir the shit up by ordering girly drinks for the world's largest man in the bar.
Yeah. A blowjob shot from another gentleman in the bar.
And the motherfucker doesn't even take it right. You gotta wrap your lips around that.
Oh.
You put it deep in your throat and then just like suck it back, you know? No hands. No
That's
hands.
the name.
The best type of blowjob. No hands. No hands. All throat.
If she's good, she can do it.
Gotta relax those jaw muscles. let it just slide right down in. Once it hits your lips, it tastes so good.
Yes.
All right, Jay, we have an extremely special beer that we're going to be reviewing tonight.
Definitely do.
Because this one was probably one of the hardest beers I've ever had to go through to get. It was released several months ago.
Second attempt, to be honest, actually.
From Broken Goblet. And they wound up having, they kind of did like a first come, first serve first time. People started lining up at 6 a.m. and they weren't even starting to sell the beer until noon. And the line was probably about, and this is not really an exaggeration, at least a quarter mile long.
Wow.
It stretched from, they're an industrial complex, so it stretched from their door to the end of the industrial complex road.
Wow.
Yeah. And the cool part was, if you waited in the line and you didn't get the beer, you still got to meet Jason Kelsey and Connor Barwin. Connor Barwin, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles and now of the LA Chargers. But you got to meet.
It's his charity that 20% of the sales of this beer goes towards.
But you got to meet Jason Kelsey. And he's the one that is the namesake for the beer. The beer's named. Yes. It's basically a beer that's honoring him and his great speech.
I've just heard one of the best chants this past day, and it's one of my favorite, and it's new, and I hope y'all learn it, because I'm about to drop it right now. You know what I gotta say to all those people that doubted us, to all those people that counted us out, and to everybody who said that we couldn't get it done? What my man Jay and Jai just said, fuck you!
And everyone remembers that from the post-Super Bowl, especially if you're from Philadelphia. So this is a Philadelphia Super Bowl celebration beer. So me and you missed out on that first one because that was a really fucking long line. I don't wake up before 7 on the weekends. And I just didn't want to be... I hate lines. Like, in Disney World, I like... Even if I really wanted to go on a ride, I didn't wait in a line if it was over a half hour. I wouldn't do it. And people were in line for 5 or 6 hours. So I wasn't doing that.
Some people are just into that kind of thing, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't care enough. I really wanted to see
the new iPhone's out. Let's get her tent.
Yeah,
no.
I just, it's not my character.
I'm cool with waiting for cool shit. Like, I can do that. I can wait. You know, I'm so happy Fandango exists and things like that. I don't have to wait in line for tickets. I just literally go on and I buy them and I have my movie tickets right away.
I get excited, but I get excited more when it's easier to, you know,
assigned seats. I don't have to.
Exactly.
I love assigned seats. I don't have to get there, 2 hours before the movie to ensure that I don't wind up with the seat in the very front of the theater.
And if you don't want to see the trailers, you don't have to. You can just walk right in and grab your seat. Exactly. It's already there waiting for you.
So that's pretty much how they did this beer this time, the second release of it. It was pretty much starting at 9 a.m. You could go there and you got a ticket. And then as long as you had that ticket, when you came back, they were selling it on the premises from 12 to 3. And that's it. And then you were guaranteed a beer. Worked out so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
Far less people this time. Last time there was people from like Connecticut. There was people from as far south as like Maryland. There was people who lived within a driving distance going to it.
Think about it this way. This is the only remote closeness to like an official Eagles beer that there is.
Miller Lite is the official beer of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fuck Miller Lite. Fuck Miller Lite. No, I mean, but it's true. I mean, this is like completely.
Well, Broken
all
Goblet
inspired.
also had their playoff run beer that they had, the Fly PA, which was
That's true. That is very true.
So they've done 2 Eagles beers now, but this one
that had the most notoriety, at least.
But this one we're going to be drinking tonight is the. It's kind of tough because you could only have gotten it this weekend.
Yes.
They probably will do another release. It probably will never be canned or bottled for mass distribution.
Yeah,
but
sorry, Aussies.
But you can go to Broken Goblet Brewery and you can get a crowler of it on select weekends that they're doing it. And the beer is No One Likes Us, We Don't Care, Unfiltered Indian Pale Ale. This is dry hopped with Vic Secret and Equinox hops.
7 different hops, 6.7 alcohol by volume. It's got a great logo. This artist, I think, did it in under a week after this speech was delivered, and they hit the ground running with this, and it's definitely a great beer. Jason Kelsey actually helped make this batch up as well.
Yep, he was
and
he wasn't there this weekend. That training has already begun. He's down in the city doing training and stuff like that. So he wasn't there this weekend, which is fine. I don't need to meet. So I don't ever really need to meet people. Like, I hate that. Like, I won't wait in line to meet a person either and get their autograph. I certainly won't pay money to get their autograph.
Right.
So, but, you know, and I never know what to say. I'm always like, hey, you do that thing that everyone likes.
You have a great chance seeing him at the bars in Philly anyway. Apparently he's out and about quite a lot.
But this beer is 6.7% alcohol by volume. Jay, what do you think about this beer?
This is definitely an extremely drinkable beer. It is a great IPA color. It's not quite hazy like normal unfiltered IPAs are. It doesn't have a strong nose. However, it has a lot of good flavor to it and a really clean
It's got a bit
finish.
of a citrus nose. I mean, if you really get your nose down in your glass, it's got a bit of a citrus nose. But it's not
allergy
not huge.
season, so I'm not 100% right now. But it's very enjoyable. I mean, this is one of those beers I think is probably, it may be my favorite Broken Goblet or matching up there with all my other ones that I really enjoy from the brewery. I'm going to give this I want to take it down to a 4.25 out of 5. Just because it doesn't have a strong aroma to it, at least not as of right now.
I'm gonna be so I do think that since this is a
possibly off a tap, it might be a lot better, which is very possible.
Since this is a crowler, and I got this crowler on Saturday afternoon, it's now Monday, and we're drinking it. We're kind of on that cusp of how long you should wait before cracking open a crowler. Crowlers and growlers, if you get them in that, you really should be drinking those beers within 48 hours, or else the carbonation won't stay. So I think a lot of the carbonation might have leaked out of some of these cans. So I'm going into my review with that in mind, that it might not be as fresh, because it does say drink fresh, like real fucking fresh.
It does.
So this would be best on a tap. I think you're right. But it's definitely delicious. It is a little bit hop forward, but not crazy hop forward. Not super juicy like I'm usually into, but it does have a great citrus flavor up front. Nicely dry hopped with a little bit of sweetness in the middle, and it finishes off pretty great. Like, I'm right there with you, man. I'm 4.25. I really enjoy this beer. It's a shame, this is the only time we're really going to get to enjoy it. They said it will be on tap from time to time, and I mean, we're going to have another Eagle season starting up pretty soon, so expect it to be.
And when they expand locations, they'll be able to mass produce this a lot easier, and hopefully, expand. So I think it's a great beer. I think it's going to be a big hit.
I don't think this is ever one that they put in their regular rotation. This is not one that winds up, being around all the time. It's
no. I mean, if they're smart, they wouldn't do that. Business wise. But I think it's also just a solid beer that they made. I'm happy.
All right, Jay. Let's get into our spotlight on Wes Anderson films.
Yeah.
Esse é o grande controle da Major Town, e disso eu bem sei. Na verdade, quase nada dá pra ver. Não há nada comparado a tal poder.
All right, Jay. Wes Anderson has a lot of films under his belt at this point. His first directorial debut came out in 1996 with Bottle Rocket, followed that up in 1998 with Rushmore, and he's pretty much come out pretty consistently every 3 to 4 years with another film. You and I are big fans, at least stylistically, of him, even if there's some films that we're not huge fans of. So I just wanted to put a little bit of spotlight on something that brings joy to us. And maybe if other people haven't checked out these films, might bring it to light for them and inspire them to check them out a little bit. So I'm going to start off real quick. I want to talk about Isle of Dogs because even though I said I watched it earlier on in What Are You Watching, I didn't do like a full review for it, and I'm still not going to do a full review. I'm not going to give it a score, but I will talk about it in the fact that I absolutely loved it stylistically. I think story-wise, it was pretty simple, but there's a lot of things that were in it stylistically that I really enjoyed. Obviously, the stop-motion animation was gorgeous. I don't expect anything else from Wes Anderson. The story was very reminiscent of Akira Kurosawa, and I think that's, purposeful given the Japanese influence. It's very Hidden Fortress. It's very, like it's a group of heroes, unlikely heroes, the dogs, leading someone to their destination, to their goal behind an enemy line, and how they get there. And I really dug it. But one of the things I really dug about it was the little bit of dog and anecdotes that they fit in there, right? Like they hear a noise and all the dogs are in mid-sentence and they stop and all their heads turn and look at the noise.
That's fun.
It's cute. Yeah. It's cute. And I'm a guy, I fucking love dogs. I love dogs. Obviously, I think I spent 20 minutes talking about my dog, Luca, in the beginning. So, watching this film, and one of my most proudest moments watching this film, Jeff Goldblum is his character, the voice that he lends is a husky. So now forever, when I look at Luca inside, I picture him having Jeff Goldblum's voice. Are you going to throw it? Are you going to do it? Life finds a way. I can't do a Jeff Goldblum. Sorry.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie. This is one of those movies that I will watch.
Yeah.
And
did you watch Fantastic Mr. Fox?
I did.
Another great animated film, and
very forgettable because it's just not my kind of cup of tea.
It's not.
However, I did respect the hell out of the movie. I do remember that. I thought the visual.
There's some animated films
really
that I
cool.
watch, Jay, and I go like, it's that works for you. I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox should work for you stylistically. I think Isle of Dogs will work better for you than Fantastic Mr. Fox, where I felt like was PG and a little bit more kiddie. This is a PG-13 stop motion animated film. So, but there's another one.
And I think the fact that the story is pretty cut and dry and simple, and it has just simply mostly dogs.
There's another one that I want to give to you, and it's called Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh, I saw that. No, I saw that movie. I think I reviewed it on the show before a long time ago.
And it's fantastic, right?
Very fantastic. I saw that with the kids at work.
Isle of Dogs is the same thing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful little story with some great cinematography and some great direction. Now, my problem with Isle of Dogs is the dialogue isn't as strong as it is in other Wes Anderson films, and I think that might be because the dialogue is split. The dialogue's split between Japanese and American, like Americans dubbing over Japanese, interpreters and stuff like that. The dogs all speak English, but the people speak Japanese, and then you only hear what the Japanese people are saying through an interpreter and stuff like that. So it is extremely interesting.
Such an interesting little indie.
It is
stop motion dog human movie. That's only Wes Anderson can do this movie.
It's one of those films that the reason I'm not going to review it is, yes, I loved it, but you really can I say go watch this film? No, because you have to like Wes Anderson films. You have to. You have to love dogs. You have to. There's like caveats to getting into Isle of Dogs that it's like if you're not into these things, you might not like this movie. If you're not.
But I feel like the trailer did it justice, where you can sense what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Oh, and
if you're going to be into it or not.
The voice acting is great because it's all people that you recognize. Bill Murray's there, Jeff Goldblum's there.
His usual characters.
They're all Wes Anderson alums, but the star is not a Wes Anderson alum. The star of the story is a dog by the name of Chief, and Chief is Bryan Cranston. This is Bryan Cranston's first time with Wes Anderson. And it's interesting that he's lending a voice, but I wonder if in a live action film now, if Bryan Cranston will be in a Wes Anderson live action film. I feel like he has that level style of animated character to himself.
I think so.
That lends himself to the cartoonish nature of these fantastical people that Wes Anderson always tells stories about. So we'll see in his next live action film if Bryan Cranston makes an appearance. But in this Wes Anderson spotlight, Jay, I just want to talk about like some of his films. Have you seen Bottle Rocket? With Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson.
No, unfortunately, the first two movies, Bottle Rocket and Rushmore, I have not seen. Rushmore, I saw only in parts. I saw, I don't know, maybe like half of it. But obviously, many of the other ones, Royal Tenenbaums, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. I've seen even the American Express like little shorts, the Darjeeling Limited, Hotel Chevalier, Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I already just talked about briefly, Moonrise Kingdom, and Grand Budapest Hotel. I think that's the last one. That's the last one I saw. So that was a long time ago, Dave. That was 2014.
So for me, Bottle Rocket, which came out in 1996, is very much like a Wilson Brothers film, right? Like, part of it was written by Owen Wilson himself, who was friends with Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's friends with some powerful people in Hollywood. It's interesting. Well, he's more friends with the kids of powerful people in Hollywood. Even though he's in his 40s
Smart
now.
Move.
Yeah. So it's basically Bottle Rocket is three friends who pull off a simple robbery and then go on the run. But you're also getting into mental health aspects of Luke Wilson's character, who pretty much is the star of the film. Owen Wilson's more of his foil, kind of his sidekick and stuff like that. But honestly, for me, the film is not that strong, but there was something in the writing that people enjoyed. And I think that's what really got Wes Anderson noticed was more of the writing, because if you watch Bottle Rocket, there's not a lot of his visual style in that one, as there is by the time you get to Rushmore, which was written also by Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson, and stars Jason Schwartzman, and for the first time in a Wes Anderson film, a guy who will collaborate with him on just about every film from this point on, Bill Murray. And this kind of, if Wes Anderson didn't come along, I'm not sure if Bill Murray would still be relevant today. I think Bill Murray was almost done with
kind
Hollywood.
of interesting, yeah.
I think he was, but Wes Anderson films kind of brought him back in and really got him into this indie style of acting that led him to Lost in Translation,
at least his sensibility,
and that brought him to Lost in Translation and Broken Flowers. And I think he really found an outlet for the type of actor that he wanted to be in those, but never found in the 80s, and then refound it at some point in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's carried him into his career now.
And he's the kind of guy and actor who just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like he wants to do what he wants to do, straight up. Like that's it. Like it's really, really, really hard for anybody to even get a hold of him, for even just a basic phone call, let alone scheduling a movie or an appearance somewhere.
So Rushmore is great. It's about a kid who absolutely loves his school. He loves the school atmosphere. He's a guy who loves the extracurricular activities. He's always maybe not even playing sports. He's always starting new clubs. And he kind of befriends an older Bill Murray who plays Herman Bloom, who is a guy who didn't grow up rich, but he made his money and he sends his kids to this rich school at Rushmore, and he kind of like befriends this younger kid, Max Fisher, who is this strange enigmatic character. And Herman Bloom is played by Bill. It's just fantastic. There's a scene where he's talking on a cell phone and there's kids playing basketball, and as he walks to the basketball court, he jumps up, knocks the ball out of the kid's hand, and then keeps walking, talking on his cell phone. And both the kid, played by Jason Schwartzman, and Bill Murray's character fall in love with the same teacher. And it kind of becomes like a competition between them throughout the film.
Oh, that's fun.
It's a lot of fun, and it was really the first time that like Wes Anderson films really spelled out these characters as like these strange, over-the-top, cartoonish characters in kind of like upper society positions, which is what all of Wes Anderson films really come from. Like it shows you a dark but also funny side of upper society. But real quick before we move on, I do want to share a quote with you from Herman Bloom in Rushmore. Rushmore, which is fucking hilarious. He's addressing the student body of Rushmore, and he says, "You guys have it easy. I never had it like this where I grew up, but I send my kids here because the fact is, you go to one of the best schools in the country, Rushmore. Now, for some of you, it doesn't matter. You were born rich and you're going to stay rich. But here's my advice to the rest of you. Take dead aim at these rich boys. Get them in the crosshairs and take them down. Just remember, they can buy anything, but they can't buy your backbone. Don't let them forget it. Thank you."
It's amazing. And it's so Bill, yeah.
And it is. And that's really like where these films go. Now, his next film after that was The Royal Tenenbaums, which I think was his real first hit, really.
Commercial, for sure. And also...
far more commercial than the other two films that he had. For sure.
Everybody can get something out of this movie, you know, from different kind of characters.
And I think it was the first time it really took, like, it takes a very serious topic, like Luke Wilson's character, his mental health and suicide. And even it still finds a way to shine light on it after it happens and make
stepfathers, just like fucked up fathers, just like children, wealth, you know, like just very, very varied aspects of life in general.
And it's an extremely funny film too.
Sure.
And it's interesting to see Gene Hackman in this extremely funny role. It also has Ben Stiller in it, obviously Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson,
Gwyneth Paltrow.
This one also was written by Wes Anderson.
Women still idolize Gwyneth Paltrow's character in this movie.
Oh, I love it, and I love all the characters in the film, which is interesting because even you get like Bill Murray's character, who's completely diminished in this role. Like it's a very small role for him in a Wes Anderson film, but he still finds a way to shine in it.
And let's not forget Angelica Houston, the angel herself.
Her first time in a Wes Anderson film, and
she's always the best.
And I love her, and that's one of the things about it is no matter how small a character's role is, they wind up sticking with you in some way. Something they say or something they do, you know, really sticks with you. But I have like two favorite scenes in this. It's the first time that Ben Stiller sees Gene Hackman again, who plays, you know, Royal Tenenbaum, and he asks him, "Do you still have that BB in your hand?" He pushes on it, he goes, and he laughs. He goes, and then he flashes back to a scene where he shot his son in the hand with a BB gun because he's the most irresponsible father. Like he played all these terrible games that were dangerous to their health, and then he gets a hold of Ben Stiller's kids and he takes them. They ride on the back of trash trucks and they go and they gamble on cockfights, and he does all these awful things with kids,
go-karts, just all kinds of crazy shit.
And then when he finally gets thrown out of the house, his little manservant, who's named Pagoda, takes out a tiny little pocket knife and stabs Gene Hackman's character Royal in the stomach. And then Gene Hackman shouts out, "God damn it, Pagoda, that's the last time you stabbed me," implying that Pagoda has stabbed him before. And all this stuff,
numerous times.
All this stuff,
understandably.
Right. Yeah, he's an awful human being. But all this stuff like serves to it winds up making you laugh, but also you see where everyone is coming from when you get into like the heart of their story as well.
Yes.
So Royal Tenenbaums is definitely up there for one of my favorite. Now, the next one that Wes Anderson did, I think, is truly my favorite. When like really when I sit down and I think about it and which one of these films would I watch over and over again, it's The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. I absolutely love that film. It is 100% a Bill Murray piece. He is the main character, obviously, but he also sells the entire story. I've talked about it on the show a lot, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it.
Yeah, we did. And also, this is also your kind of topic. I mean, marine biology is something that you have a strong passion for. And
I do, but they're all fake animals in it, which is great.
Well, exactly, which makes it even more fun and enjoyable about the whole thing.
God damn, I hate those dolphins.
It's classic. It's just classic, and I think it shows where he's going towards the future of his career in film.
So Bill Murray
after this movie,
Bill Murray is a down on his luck, basically, Jacques Cousteau type, this very popular type of documentary filmmaker that existed in the 1970s, Wild America and National Geographic and stuff like that really fell by the wayside. And he's the type of guy who's just trying to find a way to survive in it. And he's after a shark called a jaguar shark, which killed his mentor and best friend Esteban. And, honestly, like, hilarity ensues, like, throughout. And he meets his son, Ned, or from what he did, and the way he introduces him to people, probably his son, which is, this is probably my son, Ned.
Yeah. That's what he says to his wife.
All of his films are the type of films that you have to be able to laugh at the characters. You also have to be able to see the sad side of their character, and laugh at that as well. And then also listen to everything that's said. Cause when you watch these films, something that wasn't funny before is funny now, depending on your mood. But Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is definitely my favorite one. This one, for the first time, not written by Owen Wilson, even though he was in it. This one was written by Wes Anderson and Noah Baumbach, which is
interesting.
Yeah, you're a big fan of Noah Baumbach, I know. So
they must have grew up all together in New York.
It seems like that, right? Like
the indie, wealthy New York kind of odd guys.
They all grew up in this upper society and stuff like that. But the weird thing is, they all see the funny side of it. Like, they all see like this
undercurrent of humor,
absolutely,
of it all.
And that's one of the things
which
that
is
I love.
such a rare view that we never were able to attain before. But Noah obviously has.
Well, you
that
have,
kind
because
of
you've been
eye.
going to the 5-4 Club and to Great Gatsby parties. And
This
stuff
is not 5-4 Club. This is a fucking dive-ish bar, for sure, in Levittown.
So the next one is the Darjeeling Limited. This one's interesting because it does have Owen Wilson in it, but it's post Owen Wilson attempted suicide. So Owen Wilson didn't wind up writing this one with him at all either. It was written by Wes Anderson. Jason Schwartzman, first time with a writing credit, was Wes Anderson, and this one I know will turn Jay's eyebrows up. Roman Coppola. So when I said he is friends with powerful people's kids, he is friends with powerful people's kids.
But Jason Schwartzman is a cousin of the Coppolas.
Of the Coppolas,
yeah.
Yes. A Jewish cousin to an Italian family.
Networking, baby. It's all it's about in America.
I think, as much as I loved Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou for its comedy, I love Darjeeling Limited for its comedy, but also its heart. Like, it is a story of three kids a year after their dad's death, seeing each other for the first time. Their mother had left after their father's death and went off to India to run some sort of monastery there. And they go on this trek to find her, but they do it on a train, and they're locked together in this train, and all their idiosyncrasies come out, all their problems, all their insecurities, and they come out at each other like brothers. And it's hilarious, but it's heartfelt at the same time. And this is one where I love the journey. I hate the ending. I'm not crazy about the end of it, but I love the journey that gets us there. I think it's great. There's a great scene where kids are drowning and they go to save them, and they jump in. 3 of them jump into the water to save 3 kids, and they get out. Jason Schwartzman goes, "What's wrong with me? Mine died. What's wrong?" Mine's dead. Like, as if they were saving 3 puppies, not 3 living children.
I was supposed to have that one. What happened to it? I thought
mine's died. What happened? This also, Darjeeling Limited, is also famous because of the short film that is a prologue to it called Hotel Chauvert, and that is the film that is credited with Natalie Portman's nudity. The one film she actually truly regrets making, where she was nude in it.
Well, it's kind of surprising because
also she's not nude. You do not see boobs.
You essentially just see her butt.
You see her butt. You see the top of a butt crack, like not even the whole butt. You see like the top of it.
No, you see the whole butt, and you see her in 2 different thong scenes.
Jay has freeze framed
this movie.
Jay has freeze framed this film. Yeah, but I think to her, Closer
in Closer. You're right. In Closer, and then also in I think that stupid comedy with James Franco.
Okay, yeah,
like From the Distance or something like that. But whatever. But regardless, it's just so silly. I mean, I guess she didn't get paid enough for nudity or something.
So let's move on to his next film. Wes Anderson does the 2009, his first turn at an animated film, stop motion animation, and
big ensemble,
The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a huge ensemble for him. Now, this one was really only written by him and Noah Baumbach, and they do give credit to Ronald Dahl, who wrote the children's story for it. And this is pretty much a heist film with forest creatures, and it's just great fun.
Sure, but I mean, the cast is pretty wild.
My God, this is first time with George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman back again, Bill Murray back again,
Brian Cox.
Yeah, I mean, Willem Dafoe, second time Willem Dafoe,
Owen Wilson again,
and it's
Jason Schwartzman. There's just a ton.
It's a beautiful looking animated film. The story's not quite there because you're adapting a children's story, and you're putting this type of like Wes Anderson sensibility to a PG film, so it doesn't really work out too well. Then you get Moonrise Kingdom, which is about two runaway kids, and this one hinges so much more on a child story, and then the ludicrousy of the adults in their life. It is funny to an extent, but it's also I would say it's probably the weakest story out of any of them, because it is focusing on children. Not that I don't like movies that focus on children. It's just that I felt like the two children characters,
simply a simple story,
right? They're not as interesting as the adults, the fucked up adults that have led them to run away.
Because also you have to attract this movie to the children so they can follow it as well.
And now what I would say is Wes Anderson's opum. Like, right, it's his film, it's his biggest film. It's the film that he won an Academy Award for. It was written by Steven Zwick, who is the inspired author behind it. Written by Wes Anderson and Hugo Guinness. And this is the Grand Budapest Hotel, which to me is a film that 100% deserved to win him the Oscar, but it's still not my favorite film, but I absolutely love it. I love the entire quirky nature. And again, it is pointing out the quirky nature of high society people, and how Gustav H is a man who takes advantage of that.
Sure.
And then he pretty much finds an apprentice who is basically our viewpoint into this strange world. And all of the people who have been in his films return,
But the funny thing is too, like you can like understand their viewpoints almost. Like of Ralph Fiennes and like and how like especially get away with it more in Europe or something like that perhaps, but like having this kind of essence and aura about him and and having this gravitas like kind of persona of himself and just owning it.
Yeah.
And then having all these other random weird freakish kind of characters come sprinkled in through it.
Right.
And how he plays off of that as well. It was just so amusing and fun.
But his character being someone who doesn't come from money, his only interest in them is their money. So he mimics, like, doesn't mimic their behavior, but from his proximity to them becomes very strange in and of himself.
Sure.
And then he starts training his protege to pretty much take advantage of rich people in the same way that he has his entire career, which is, it's just, I do love the film, but getting into what, and his next film was Isle of Dogs, which I'm not going to talk about because I talked about it up front. Getting into Wes Anderson, though, as a director, does he craft the greatest films? No. Like, he's not a Spielberg, he's not a Coppola, he's not like, he isn't these big people that he's talking about, but he is, how I put it, he's a visionary. Right?
He's a visionary, selfish filmmaker who wants to make the movie that he wants to make. And that's it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care about the numbers. He doesn't care about who's in it. He just draws big name talent to his roles, obviously.
And this is interesting.
It's just one of those things where he's an artist. He's an artist first. Filmmaker second, I think.
He's only ever had one cinematographer for live action films and one cinematographer for animated films. So his cinematographer for all of his live action films is Robert D. Yeoman. Yeoman has done other films like Drugstore Cowboy and interestingly enough, Ghostbusters in 2016. But I feel like, you know, whatever Yeoman has shown is something that Wes Anderson has gravitated to, this sort of like picturesque where, and I've said this before, Wes Anderson's the type of director where if you took a single frame of his film, you A, immediately know that it's his film, and B, you could take that frame of film and hang it as a poster of art in your in
and most of his posters are art.
Art, yeah.
I mean, they look like pieces of art.
So I would say, like,
painting.
You know, he is he a true artist? Yes. Is he a true storyteller? No. No. But he knows how to craft an interesting character.
Script to screen.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
he's a screenwriter.
Exactly.
Which is different. Put it that way.
Oh yeah.
And there is a difference, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm not intelligent enough to be able to have that conversation and decipher the difference between like just a classic screenwriter who writes scripts all day for stories and for people to make, and also a guy who, because you see it sometimes like written for the screen, blah blah blah, and you know, like
because you have to have a more of a visual mind when you're writing
every nuance.
When you're writing a novel or you're writing a story, you're using words to paint the picture. You know, so, but when you're writing a screenplay, you're more of implying the picture and the director is making the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, I feel like Wes Anderson writes all of his films for the screen. They're literally, and because he's the one writing them, he knows exactly what he wants. And there's always this type of shot in every single one of his films, and I don't hate it. I absolutely love it. Where someone goes and describes the thing that they're in their setting, right? So like in Life Aquatic, Steve Zissou, he describes his boat and he goes through the different layers of the boat, right. And he like pulls out, and they do it in Rushmore when they talk about like all the different type of classes and clubs, and they do it in Grand Budapest Hotel, like, and I love that where like they pull back and it's almost like a model of what they're talking about, and the walls are gone and you're seeing the inside workings of it and stuff like that, and it's one of those things that like it's a
module,
it's a fourth wall breaking thing that happens in each of the films, but it also allows him to showcase the set design that he does and the picturesque beauty of what he does, and
it also grounds the picture as well.
He has a thing of color too, where like he has a color palette for certain scenes where like a room will be almost entirely pink or entirely blue or entirely yellow or entirely, you know,
but have that kind of muted wash to it where like it doesn't have like a bold like stamp on it. It just has like a strong softness.
It's like a color
like
theme.
A soft color.
It's almost like you're the color in the scene is painting the emotional picture for you.
Mm-hmm.
So like even if the actor falls short, the scene's already been painted for you, and you can go with it. You know, it's a very interesting style of filmmaking that I don't think you could see many others replicate. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised that someone like Wes Anderson has been around for as long as he has. I'm surprised that like that people haven't gotten bored with it. But it seems like he innovates just enough every time.
He does, and it's sparingly enough for Hollywood to give him a bone every 3 or 4 years, right? That's long. That's long in Hollywood years.
But it's interesting, you know, after Grand Budapest Hotel wins some awards, you'd expect Wes Anderson to be getting movie offers and stuff like that, but I guess when you're born rich, you don't really go out there looking for the money.
You don't have to.
You go spend 3 years sitting in a dark studio, moving alpaca fur on a claymation dog's face, and create Isle of Dogs, which gets you zero notoriety and gets you zero anything, but it's the film you wanted to make, and you just went out and made it. And that's who Wes Anderson is. And that's kind of why we love him a little bit. And that's why we love the things we like. So that's going to do it for our little spotlight on Wes Anderson. If you guys haven't checked out Wes Anderson films, definitely give them a shot. Reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know what your favorite Wes Anderson film is. At Super Movie Pod. Reach out to Jay on Facebook. Super Movie Brothers podcast on there. We love fan interaction. We love getting to talk to people.
Definitely.
We definitely want to hear your opinions on things, because obviously our opinions aren't the end all be all. We just happen to have a microphone and put them out there for everyone to hear, but want to hear what everyone else's opinions are. If you don't like Wes Anderson films, tell us why. Also, make sure that you head over to forhangovers.com. If you got a little bit of the drink in you, but you don't want to wake up with the hangover, use the promo code SMBFISH, and then you can get your 15% off. Start curing your hangovers today.
I'll be using it tomorrow morning.
It's a very serious issue. By the time this podcast comes out, if you're catching it on the Saturday that it comes out, and you're listening to this in the morning, Epic Film Guys will be doing their live stream on YouTube. So make sure that you search Live Stream for the Cure on YouTube. There will be a live stream going on. I will be part of the live stream at 10 p.m. I will be coming on to Epic Film Guys to be doing a very special movie cocktail with Nick from Epic Film Guys. I've made an original cocktail to go along with the film that we're going to be discussing, Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2. So I made a cocktail to go along with that. It's called the Riggs Rum Runner. And for the ingredients, you're just going to have to listen in. Make sure you're checking out all of the Podfix shows. You can head over to www.podfixnetwork.com and check out all of the great shows that are on there. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, going through this bit of a long episode with us. Have a great night, and cheers.
Cheers.